Um, okay, so I could think of a theist. Let's use um, Bishop Robert Barron. He's a well-known sort of Catholic bishop that does lots of kind of things online, social media, etc. He very commonly says things like, it's almost as if a kind of atheist, and this is really the sort of new atheist, Graham, just to make that really clear, are looking for God like they're looking for Bigfoot, they're looking for a Yeti. They're trying to use proofs, etc., to kind of go out and try and find this thing in the world. They don't see it's there, therefore atheism is true. And he'll turn around and he'll kind of he'll posit something like Thomas Aquinas's God is being itself, like the fundamental bedrock. And the way we've brushed on this a couple of times now, so it'd be good just to kind of really hammer this home. So when a theist then comes to talk about sort of independent reality, kind of something that is sort of necessary, that isn't kind of moved. They use terms like the sort of unmoved mover, or a necessary independent foundation, claiming that that is God, and it's from that point that everything begins to build. So what is your perspective on this? Do you think that often atheists are looking for Bigfoot, they're looking for this Yeti, and actually they aren't answering the deeper question that sort of maybe more Catholicism or other theistic perspectives give, like God is being itself?
So this is really complicated because there are very different Christian theologies, and
Yeah.
some of the theologies looking for God is a bit more like looking for Bigfoot than it is in others, right? And you're quite right that the kind of within Catholicism, the Thomistic perspective is one on which the kind of Yeti analogy is not very good, because on the Thomistic perspective, it turns out, for example, that God isn't a person, not literally, right? I mean, maybe you can, in some analogical sense, you can say that God's a person, but it's not, strictly speaking, true. In fact, what God turns out to be on the traditional Thomistic view is quite hard to put into words. I mean, the claim is that it's being itself, or it's pure act, or it's something in which there's no unification of essence and existence, or it's something that's absolutely simple, and so on. There's a whole bunch of different formulas, and there's a whole kind of very involved, abstruse metaphysical theory that comes largely from Aristotle, that sits behind that kind of talk. And it's okay. So I'm sympathetic to the view that that if you're thinking about God as a person, and you're a more Protestant kind of fundamentalist Protestant perspective, where God's a person and literally has beliefs and desires and plans for you and so on. We're talking about something very, very different from what Aquinas' theology was talking about. Okay, that's not answering your question yet, really, because part of the question is going to be, so who do the YouTube atheists that he's attacking actually take themselves to have as their targets? Are they talking about people like him, or is it the kind of worst of all things from Oscar Wilde's perspective, where they're not talking about him at all because they've shelved his beliefs for some other discussion?
Yeah, it's fascinating. I think I was just kind of doing a little bit of reading on Thomas Aquinas, believing things like dualism isn't real, and I'm kind of come from my sort of previous religious background. Sort of dualism, this idea that the sort of body and the soul are two distinct things, is really fundamental to kind of I guess faith, but the idea that there is a Christian set of beliefs which would say that these aren't distinct things, they are one thing. And there's just so many different things you can go and try and investigate and to try and handle. I'm just aware that more often than not, people are trying to tackle that sort of classic God, as you mentioned, sort of fundamental Protestant view that God is a person that has plans and purposes for you, etc., rather than actuality itself or being itself, etc. If you enjoyed this clip, then head on over to Locals to access the full conversation right now. Supporters can access the video version, and everyone can access the audio-only version of the conversation. I'll see you over there.